Chris Barrick here, Equity Podcast, giving you tools to be fit for life. Talking about muscle growth today. For what we want to do in life, we need strength. We want the ability to lift up heavy things. So we need to be able to focus on muscle development and muscle growth. Most of the things that we're doing in the gym are functional, right? They're movements that you see in everyday life. And we can add some nuance to those movements to help promote the growth of muscle. And how we do that in general, focusing more on the eccentric movement, the elongating of the muscle can help promote more muscle growth. What in the world does that mean? As you're working out, as you're doing a movement, an exercise, spending more time in the elongation of that muscle. So, for example, if I'm doing curls, it really not something that we do a lot, but it's just easy to see. As if I'm doing curls, instead of focusing on this way up, right? So the bicep is getting shorter as I curl up. Rather, what we want to focus on is the curling of the way down. As I'm coming down in that curl, my bicep is getting longer. The muscle is elongating. So spending more time in that eccentric movement can help promote muscle growth. So time is something. What we can also do is increase the load when that muscle is extending. So time and load. Time is very simple, right? We just slow that down. Everybody kind of gets that. But what we sometimes what we forget is, how do I change the load? So for example, if I'm standing straight up and down and I'm doing a curl, when I get to the bottom of the curl and my arm is straight down, all of that tension is not on my muscle. My bicep is not doing a lot of work at the bottom when the muscle is the longest. So straight down, there's not a lot of work happening. It's on that way up and on that way down. So if we slow it down, we're getting some work, but we're not increasing the load. So what we can do, if I'm doing a curl, instead of having the arm straight, what we can do is bring the arm out. So now, as I descend and come down here, trying to hold this position, I've increased the load, right? The farther something away is from me, the easier it's going to be, or the harder it's going to be. Farther away, the harder it is. And that is what we want. When we're trying to get muscle growth, when we're trying to promote muscle growth, we're not looking for the most efficient movement. We're actually looking for inefficiency. We want that hardest movement. We want this to be the hardest spot of the curl. If it's the easiest, we're doing something wrong. Or we're not doing something, we're not promoting as much muscle growth as we could. So what we want to do is increase the time and increase the load. So if I'm doing bar curls, instead of going all the way down to this straight arm position, we bring that bar out in front of us. And now that position is going to be really, really challenging. It's going to really challenge that muscle. And that is how we get growth. So no matter what we're doing, that's just the example. If we're doing lat pull downs, if we're doing dips, if we're any movement, we want to focus on when we want a tempo when that muscle is getting longer. So if I'm doing a dip, it's not necessarily about going down, it's going slow on the way up. Right? Where is that muscle getting extending? Tempo and control. It's not necessarily a time under tension, but being able to control it, being able to flex that muscle when that muscle is being extended is how we promote growth. Now we can still get growth, the concentric, right? The shortening of the muscle is still super important. We still want to do those things. But if we want to lean towards that muscle growth side, focusing on the extension of that muscle, it's going to be so beneficial. So, especially when we're doing accessory work, this is really when we want to focus on this type of stuff. We're focusing on specifically building strength, building muscle. Accessory work is a great opportunity to do this. Or when you're doing pull ups in a workout, instead of getting to the top and then dropping, control the descent. Get that extra work in to help promote strength and promote muscle growth. When you're doing deadlifts in a workout, instead of dropping it from the top, control that deadlift down. Don't waste the lift. Use those little bits that starts adding up over time. 1% better every day turns into a lot more. So focus on the eccentric, the extension of that muscle. Add both time and load. Make sure we're focusing on control of that muscle. What's the muscle I'm trying to work on? And make sure it's being flexed and make sure there's control under that muscle. This is how we promote muscle growth. Hope this helps. Let's get stronger out there. Cheers.